And now it's time for Who's Views Reviews with JT and the Whotastic panel.
Hello everybody, welcome to Who's Views. As you can see, we are back here. We are going to be talking tonight about another Carry On classic, aren't we, Paul?
We are indeed, looking forward to it.
Yeah, we've just been talking before we came on the show about how much we actually love this. And the two of us actually ended up watching this twice as we were reviewing it for the show, isn't that right?
Yeah, to add to many other times we've watched it as well, which must be numerous amount of times we've watched it. Yeah.
Absolutely numerous. Hello, everybody. Nice to see you. Yes, as you can see, I am here with Vestal Virgin Paul this evening.
Well, and that's better than being a eunuch. That's all I'm saying.
Guess what? As well, this seems like an ideal time actually to celebrate the 60th anniversary of Carry On Cleo, because this film was released in 1964. So happy 60th anniversary to Carry On Cleo.
Can you believe it? That's incredible, isn't it? It's that long, because it looks like it was made yesterday. It's such a lovely film.
It's a fantastic. It's what we call lush, isn't it? It's lush. Yeah. So I'm sure we're going to get into that. We want to know, as ever, of course, everybody watching, what your favorite moments of this film were. Just carry on with the carry-ons. Tell us all about it. We're going to start right at the very beginning. As I say, 60 years ago, it was launched into the cinemas to a very suspecting by this point public. This is the 10th in the Carry On films, Cleo, which is fabulous, isn't it? And as ever, the production team consists of all these wonderful people here. We've got the producer, Peter Rogers. We've got director, Gerald Thomas. And it was written by Talbot Rothwell. And talking about that, Paul, I love this in the credits where it goes here. Original screenplay by Talbot Rothwell from an original idea by William Shakespeare.
Yeah. It's Mock and Wise kind of took that on later as well. We did that kind of thing when Ernie wrote things like that as well. It's really very clever. I also liked it continued on about all the characters are based on real people, except they're taking liberties with Cleopatra. That was brilliant. I love
that. It really is, isn't it? It's fantastic. And the other thing about it, this film is just so good because, as we know, this has come about at the same time that the big Hollywood blockbuster Cleopatra was produced, which was a major flop, apparently. It was a huge flop. I was reading up about it. They spent millions and millions and millions of dollars on that film. And it was a flop at the cinema. So, it was an absolute gem for Carry On, wasn't it? It had to be done, really. You couldn't say to the guys, you wouldn't do that, because of course they were going to do it, weren't they, Paul?
Yeah. But that's the thing. And it's interesting that what the Anti-Cleopatra was a flop, because this was a really big film, wasn't it, at the time. But this film, Carry On Cleo, was massive, wasn't it? And they nicked so many things from that movie, and they got into trouble, didn't they? Because I think the poster that came out when it was released was originally based on the Richard Burton Elizabeth Taylor film, but they got into trouble with the film company who made that movie. One? That's the one, yeah. So that's based on the original Richard Burton Taylor movie, but they got into trouble and they had to change. This one's what came out afterwards, but they had it more based on the original poster that they did for Elizabeth Taylor, and they got into trouble. I think they nearly got sued. I believe. I think it happened.
Well, they did. I can tell you all about that here as well, actually, because I've got it all here. Carry On Cleo was involved in a court case over the copyright of the painting of the original 20th century poster featuring Elizabeth Taylor. The Carry On poster naturally lampooned the famous original with Charles Hawtrey hiding under Cleopatra's bed and such like. That's the one we've just seen now. I'll just show that again. There we go. 20th century took Anglo Amalgamated to court and won the case. Fortunately, Anglo was insured against such a contingency, and the resulting publicity was invaluable. The film incited, this is where it gets funny, the film incited the threat of another court case as well. After its press show, one of the critics contacted Marks and Spencer. Not only with the news that their names were boulderized as Marcus and Spensius, but also that the ribbons adorning the slave traders' booths were the actual colors of M&S, which were green and gold. So this film was deliberately courting controversy, and it loved every minute of it.
But that's the thing. But there's no such thing as bad publicity, is there? That's the thing. It's fantastic. Yeah. They're very naughty on the behalf of the producers of the character. Yeah, but fantastic.
And they knew it was going to happen because they were insured against any lawsuits. I absolutely love that. Let's see who's in the chat with us as well. John is saying to us all, infamy. They've all got it, infamy. One of the famous. We were saying when we put this film is full of classic lines here.
Oh, yeah.
That go through and through. One of my favorites, actually, everybody, is the eunuchs are on strike. They are complaining about a loss of assets.
Yeah. Well, they do a follow-up gag to that with I think it's Jim Dale and Kenneth Connor when they go into the Vestal Virgins and Eunuchs kind of place, you know, and they go in there and you say, well, just tell him you're a eunuch. What have you got to lose? It's that kind of right.
It is brilliant, isn't it? Thank you, everybody, for joining us tonight for this review, celebrating 60 years of Carry On Cleo. 60 years. As you say, it looks like it was made recently. It's absolutely fantastic. And we've got this here, of course, friends, Romans,
countrymen.
Yes, I know. Yeah. Gosh, yeah, and Cara's filling that in for us. And I know that running gag cracked me up when I was a kid. I have to tell you, I absolutely loved it.
And so Mr. Williams does it beautifully, don't you think? He's really his timing in this is superb. He's really good in this.
Absolutely. And what we got here from Martin, all the carry-ons are classics, great entertainment. My favorite is Carry On Screaming. We're getting lots and lots of requests for Carry On Screaming. I can tell you we are going to do it, but not until October, because you can't do it any other time rather than Halloween.
Yeah, exactly.
So we'll do it in October, God willing. That's when we'll do it.
It's the kind of movie you have to watch in the winter when it's nice and dark and creepy. That's what you want.
Exactly. Yeah. And we've got a very big October plan for you. Stephen Braddock is saying, oh boy. Oh.
Yeah.
And there's another one for the Legion of James. I've cleaned up this city. Have you forgotten my slogan? Nearly expector in omnibus. No spitting on the public transport.
There's lots of fantastic kind of Roman jokes and puns and stuff like that. Bilious is one of my favourites, I have to say.
It was brilliant. And was Amanda Barry a substitute for Barbara Windsor? Apparently not. Amanda Barry was the first choice to play Cleopatra.
Oh, she is brilliant in this. And the idea of having Cleopatra as a bit of a bimbo is genius choice to make her like that. And she is brilliant in this. She's so funny. So funny.
Yeah. And of course, it's a real, again, it's a real take on the big Cleopatra with Liz Taylor, isn't it? I mean, this is just, and Amanda Barry making the meal out of this completely and utterly. I mean, look at the makeup and everything. I mean, it's just she knows what
comic
she's doing here.
Timing, JT, is brilliant. When she kind of towards the end, when they go into spoilers, folks, go into the bit at the end when they try to seduce Cleo and they swapped around Kenneth Connor with Kenneth Williams. So Kenneth Connor now being Caesar, and they do the carpet gag, which actually ends up being worse than it was in the flashback sequence for John Pertwee. So it turns out to be a bit of a car crash. But she does wonderful stuff. She's got all the grapes and bits of food in her bikini. She throws them out like that and trying to suggest how excited she might get Caesar. And it's brilliantly done. It's so funny.
It is brilliant. It's absolutely brilliant. We've got here from Stephen saying it's comedy tonight. It is classic comedy tonight. We're celebrating the 60th anniversary of Carry On Cleo here on Whose Views Reviews tonight. Really, really excited to do it. Just Jordan, hello to you. They do everything intense.
Yeah, tents are too drafty. That's it. Yeah.
And Cara is saying to us that this and Khyber still remain favourites. Absolutely.
Khyber's a classic as well. Yeah.
Yeah, it really, really is, isn't it? It's fantastic. Sam is saying to us, hi, Sam, the top three carry-ons for me, Cleo, Screaming, and Up the Khyber. Up the Khyber, another one of my favourites. But I have to say, Cleo has always been one of my number one carry-on films. It's one that I will go to often, everybody, to watch, because I absolutely love it. I think it's fantastic. And it just makes me laugh. And when at this time as well, especially for us Doctor Who fans, we need to laugh. this was a joy. That's why I watched it on both Monday night and Tuesday night, I think, because I just thought, yeah, oh my God, this is brilliant. And I was saying, Paul, every time I watch it, there's something else I pick up on. You won't believe this, Who Views, but I've been watching this film for years and years and years. And only on Tuesday night did I realize that Charles Hawtrey's character is in the Senate. He's actually sitting there. I have never seen that before.
It's funny. I had the same experience when I watched it. I thought, "Oh, that's Charles Hawtrey." I didn't know that. Yeah, I did the same thing. Yeah.
What we got here? Dalek Eye is saying to us, "I love the way the guys play it so camp while lusting after the women." Now that would be that's one of the reasons the Carry On films were always in the 80s and 90s looked down on, really, wasn't it? Because you always got the Sid James and go, and all that sort of stuff. But I find it hilarious. Yeah. I find it absolutely hilarious.
One of the bits gets me is Sid James has some great lines as well, and it's playing on this kind of chord Latin, and he goes "Blimus" and runs off. That kills me every time.
This is the brilliant thing about it, because it's totally British. I mean, this is a Cockney Mark Antony.
Yeah. Hail, rain, sleet, snow, everything.
And I love that about it. I just think that is, and again, it's part of the magic of the Carry-Ons. It's a proper piss take, isn't it? And then this one, they're having fun, and also because they benefited from the fact that, of course, the 20th Century Fox crew who were making Cleopatra left London at the time to go over to Europe to continue making the film, didn't they? Leaving sets and costumes behind. Come on, the Carry On film is, going around. It's like that old story in Doctor Who, isn't it? Where they go into what monsters are left. But that was it. They found all the. Oh yes, we'll do a Cleo.
But obviously, I'm sure it was deliberate. So I'm sure it wasn't a coincidence that they managed to write the film at the same time and to coincide with all this. But it looks plush, doesn't it, with all the fantastic sets?
Yeah.
Because the budget couldn't have stretched to that quality, I don't think.
Yeah.
But I think it really adds to the film. It looks so well made. It really adds to the quality of it. You know what I mean?
Well, it is. I mean, it's fantastic. I mean, this has to be the best looking Carry On ever. I don't know what it is about it, but it has to be. It's very glossy because they left all these big sets and costumes hanging around, isn't it? It's just wonderful. I like that. We have to talk about lots of stuff in this particular show to celebrate the 60th anniversary, 60 years. I'm going to say it again, 60th anniversary of this. One of the other magical things for me, we didn't mention him on the last show, or we haven't mentioned musicians, but I want to mention this chap. This is Eric Rodgers, who put together the music, the soundtrack for this. I absolutely love it. It's one of those things, Paul, where I could be walking around Tesco's or supermarkets or something, and the theme comes in, and I just copyright. But I just think, oh my goodness, oh, I love it.
Well, it's funny you were saying this is the 10th film in the series, and by this point they've really got each other's stride, and the music repetition is the wrong word, but there's certain sections that are used quite a lot by this point, even by 10, and I think you can recognize them, and that familiarity is lovely. This coming up, and you recognize that sexy tune for so and so, or that kind of thing. You know what I mean? And it's really comforting to hear those tunes again, if you know what I mean.
Oh yeah, absolutely. There is something about these Eric Rodgers music, though, that is comforting, isn't there? There's something magical about it. It's as though you're going home, in a sense. Do you know what I mean? There is something full-bodied about it, familiar about it, and cozy. What do you think of that, Who Views? But there is, isn't there, Paul? It's hard.
Oh yeah, definitely. Yeah. I mean, that's half the fun, because I think most people have seen these films so many times because they've been on. Obviously, they're going from Carry On Sergeant up until 77. So it's a long run of films, and everyone's got their favourites. So, but there are elements that are very similar, in terms of music and stuff like that, which are very familiar but very comforting. Like I said,
Yeah. Oh, I don't know. And it's also so Carry On. When you listen to them a few years ago as well, and you can find this on the Tube of Who, they did it at the Proms. Or certainly really? At the Royal Albert Hall, they played what's called the Carry On Suite, which is an amalgamation of the big favourite blockbuster, if you like, tunes that we still remember today.
Yeah.
And it's so Carry On. There's energy in it. There's comedy in it. There's slapstick in it. There's sexiness in it. There's the whole mincing element of it as well for Charles Hawtrey and all this. It's just brilliant. I love it. If you haven't seen that, go and look it up. And I think you can still get the albums for it as well. So that's brilliant. There are fabulous lines in this that we've already mentioned here, including this one from Stephen Braddock, which always makes me laugh. You are an emperor, and I am a great queen. Actually, ooh.
Well, there's lots of naughty gay gags in there, isn't there? To be fair, you've got I feel so queer when he's got the cold and stuff and all that kind of thing, you know. So there's lots of different
I do feel queer.
Yes.
Yeah, but that shows you actually where we are with that word, because back then, this is 60 years ago, that shows you how it was being used in a detrimental sense as well as the proper way.
Yeah.
And Kenneth plays it like that.
Yeah,
he delivers it in that way. But that shows you what was actually going to go into the 70s and 80s about how that world became detrimental. But here it's borderline time.
Yeah, it means like then it did mean strange, odd. I don't feel very well. That's what the context of that was in terms of
it's
it being used
word
there.
That means poorly or not quite right.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
But at that point, it was getting into that other thing as well, and the audience would have picked up on that and had a snigger.
Yeah.
You know.
Well, there's lots of
downhill after that.
There's lots of jokes in that, you know, the little hints towards Kenneth Williams and stuff like that. You know, I think Kenneth Connor does a couple as well, which I only picked up on this time round. But just me. Well, you know when he's doing his hair, and he says, "I know how to deal with an iron." At one point, I don't know if that's a bit of an innuendo there as well, but it's.
It is funny, but the whole thing is fun. It's so clever. The lines in this are so clever, and I don't understand it why anybody could be offended. You know, find it offensive, or and why they cut it. You know, if you watch it now, as I've said before on the shows, if you watch them on ITV or Channel 4 now, these things are always cut, and I have noticed the odd cuts in Cleo, and I just don't understand why, because it's just so funny. If you're going to be offended by it, don't watch it. Oh, look, the Lady Knightsbridge is with us. Hello, Elizabeth. How are you? I'm no Carry On expert, but the budget for Carry On Cleo seemed bigger than the other ones I've seen. I'm not sure if this is the case. Well, hopefully we've answered that question for you now, mate, because no, it wasn't. It was just that the sets were left over from a film that was abandoned.
They just next the sets, yeah.
And the costumes.
And the costume, yeah.
Which is terribly British.
It is, yeah. It's early recycling. It's superb. It really is. It's good, yeah.
It is, and it's brilliant, isn't it? It's absolutely brilliant because of that. But that's why it looks glossy. It's just amazing because of that. Because I did have for you as well how much this cost. So if Paul can entertain you for a second, I'll try and find out. Oh, there it is. The budget was £165,802.
Now,
in old money.
I know, that sounds, I suppose, it doesn't sound an awful lot in today's money, but I suppose it would be quite a lot then, in terms of filmmaking. Yeah. And it looks like more than that, because like I said, the sets look $1 million, don't they? And the costumes look really superb. And it just lifts that, it gives it the extra layer of quality to it.
It really does. But talking of which, nonsense, the British are used to cuts, Stephen Braddock. Again, it's another classic line. And hello to YW2324 who's with us. Hey all. Oh, this is another Carry On film. Oh, cool. Yes, it's another one of our Carry On series, because we thought everybody needed cheered up right now. What better way to cheer us up than the Carry On films? And this one, as I say, celebrating 60 years of Carry On Cleo. Happy birthday, Carry On Cleo.
What I do like about it, if you go back to the start of the movie, and it takes place in ancient Britain, and what does make me laugh is the fact that depicted a bit like the Flintstones, because they have this kind of, and there's dinosaurs. Apparently, Senna's mum got eaten by a brontosaurus and then died. The brontosaurus died 2 days later. So there's all this kind of stuff about dinosaurs and man being around and stuff like that, which is really silly but brilliant at the same time.
Yeah, do you know that whole thing about the dinosaur? This actually reminds me of. Do you know? I am sure at some point when we were kids, Paul, they didn't know that a brontosaurus was a vegetarian. Because I remember being shocked learning about this later on, and I think this shows. But one person that might know, because he might like, I think he likes dinosaurs, is Jack. So joining us now is Jack. Hello.
Hello.
What do you know
Jack,
about dinosaurs?
Quite a bit, but I'm a bit rusty because I haven't been a super fan since I was about 7.
And what do you think of a brontosaurus eating what's his name's mother-in-law in Carry On Cleo?
Senna Pod, fantastic.
Senna Pod's mother. Oh, God.
I don't think they were around in the
No, I don't think so.
No.
I mean, this film is historically accurate, though. It should be taught in schools today, I feel, with all the other crap.
This was made before 65 million years BC with Raquel Welch, wasn't it? So they're not basing it on that. So it's
Can you imagine if they'd done that? Carry on 65 million BC.
well, it's
Carry
kind
on
of like that, yeah.
Yes, exactly. Oh, Jack, it's lovely to see you. We've got a lot of people here. We're actually, as you know, Jack, we are celebrating 60 years of Carry On Cleo this year. Which is totally outrageous. I still can't quite believe it. A lot of the original Carry On cast are in this one, but I just want to pay particular homage to these two. You know, because you hear so much about them. You know, we know the difficulties Kenneth Williams was going through in his personal life. We know Sid James had a reputation which could be argued a little bit unfair, actually, as we look back. But we know that they clashed occasionally. They didn't necessarily get on. But to their credit as professionals in these films, and especially in this one, you never see that. They are totally brilliant, aren't they?
Their chemistry is superb in this, and I love when they greet each other. Tony, Julie, all that kind of stuff is brilliant. It's very funny. That kind of relaxed relationship they have. It's really good.
My friend. Let's have a look. Look at this. John is actually saying this is actually comfort viewing. Carry On Cleo really is. It's so fabulous. Oh, and Legion of James was saying to us, we were talking about Eric Rodgers. He's a legend. His music is its own character within the Carry-Ons and gives the movies the collective identity. Really does, doesn't it? I think we should talk more about Eric Rodgers as we go through these films as well, because there's particular films like the Barbara Windsor film, which of course the theme, which isn't in this, of course, where you can just imagine her wiggling. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
But Cleo,
you mean what a lovely pair type music? You mean yes?
Cleo's theme in this, it's very big, isn't it? It's epic.
Yeah.
What's a stinking cold? Says Steve. Oh, again, it's just one of these lovely things. Oh, and Steve is saying to us here, Stephen saying, I was lucky enough to meet Julie Stevens at a convention with Jack Douglas. Oh, how lovely. Oh, and this is one of my favorites, Just Jordan. Sorry, Paul. This is one of my favorites from Just Jordan. His laurels have wilted. Yes, I love that line. They were positively rigid.
Julie Stevens, for me, I just remember presenting Play School quite a lot when I was a kid. That was fabulous. Yeah, she was lovely in that. Yeah.
Yes. Yeah. And again, it was only like last year or something where I realized where I knew Julie Stevens from. Of course, she's from Play School for me because she was one of our Play School presenters.
And they would have got away with that Bristol gag on Play School, though, I don't think.
Yeah, I wonder if we should explain that. No,
well, it's entirely up to you.
We probably shouldn't explain that, should we?
Possibly not. Yeah.
Possibly not. Possibly not. No.
It's Cockney rhyming slang. Bristol City. Do the rest yourself. Okay. So.
Yeah. I don't think we're allowed to do that anymore these days. Anyway, but
no, you can't. No.
All the time. Yeah. What we got here from Cute Pyro Zero, who said earlier on that needed to be cheered up. Well, this hopefully will be it. The Carry On Cleo for you. This entire actors things are satire and joking, nothing serious. They all go to work knowing the script, knowing their line, knowing what they've got to do, and they're so professional that they play it so beautifully. It is funny, isn't it?
Oh, it is. They're all, I think they're at the top of the game, these guys in this, because let's say they've had 10 movies to get into the swing of this, and they're firing on all cylinders. I think, like I said, Sid James and Kenneth Williams particularly are really good in this. They're really bouncing off each other.
Yeah, as the two main leads as well. It's so brilliant, and I love the way how Kenneth Williams plays Caesar as an absolute dunce.
Yes.
How could he not know what was going on? Oh, truly, my friend. How could he not know what was going on around him? Do you know what I mean?
The bit that really cracks me up is towards the end when he's in the Senate, they're all stabbing him, and he's been stabbed like 6 or 7 times. He said, "Don't detect a hint of animosity." He's been stabbed 6 times. It's brilliant.
Yeah, it is brilliant, that one. That is the famous one, isn't it, Kev? Infamy. They all got it, Infamy. I just absolutely love that one. It's absolutely brilliant. And Julianne is with us saying, Carry On films on the telly were a family event in our house when we were kids. Cleo and Khyber were Dad's favourites. Oh, fantastic. And Paul Ashworth is with us. And again, thank you so much for your super sticker. I love it. Yeah, I love them. I don't know what it is with the super stickers, but they just make me laugh. It's a shame they haven't got a Carry On one in there, haven't they? Like a little one of those. But thank you for that, Paul. That's brilliant, and thank you for making me laugh, just like this film did. What was your introduction to this, Jack? How did you get to see Carry On, Cleo? Can you remember?
Well, I had the Carry On box set, so I just did a marathon of them with my granddad. So it was really fun.
Oh, brilliant! What was your favourite part in Carry On, Cleo?
Oh, I'd say the bit where they're on the ship, and I forget his name, but he's mistaken for being the Roman champion when he's not.
Oh, Hengist Pod.
That's it.
Pod.
And he goes out the door, and all the fellas have already died, and then they go out. The rest of them follow him out, and they're just like, "How do you do it?"
Yeah.
He always seems to happen. And then he pretends like he's fighting when actually everyone's already just is down. He's just like, oh, it was no bother at all.
Yeah, that convention is very clever because obviously Jim Dale's there always to save him. Apart from the last time when he kills is it sausages or what his name is, or sausages or bangers or
sausages? Yeah.
Cleopatra's bodyguard, and he manages, he's brave enough to slaughter him. But that kind of running gag about the fact that Jim Dale's always there, I think it's really clever. I like that,
And also the bit at the start where his cave wife, I suppose, is just constantly going on, and he's saying what she's going to say before she says it. It's just like, oh, never give you enough time. You never give me enough time. It just, always more.
I remember. I've got to be careful with this now. I don't know if it was one my grandfather on my father's side, or an uncle or something. But there was or maybe a friend of the family. But there was a guy around my younger self, my little self at the time in the 70s, who did that because he would know exactly what his wife was going to say to him. And I always think of him. I can't remember who he was, but I can see him in my mind's eye. And he always used to do that, slaving over an oven. Slaving over an oven. I just thought that's brilliant life there. So all the fellas who were going to the cinemas to see this must have been going,
yeah.
Pit.
So I did that with my mom.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Well, it happens when you've got a close relationship with someone. You know them very well. You know what's coming, don't you? So you have
I suppose you do. Yeah. Totally. What have we got here? Stephen Braddock is saying Julie Stevens had some very rude stories to tell us about Play School that we didn't see on screen. Yes, I'm sure. I'm sure that I've seen one with Derek Griffiths telling Jemima what exactly she can do. We've got here Garbage saying to us, thank you to Garbage who's in the chat, making sure everybody that's all right and comfortable. Thank you, mate. Are Carry On films still shown on terrestrial TV? Yes, they are, usually around about Christmas time, and they're usually on ITV. And in recent years, they've been doing 2 or 3 back-to-back from about 6 o'clock in the morning over Christmas. Hence why I think they're all cut to bits in case any children are watching. God forbid, they might have a laugh.
Yeah, I think, honestly, I wish they would just stop desecrating film and TV history. Just leave it alone.
Exactly. There's no need for it. And we all saw this as kids, and it didn't do us any harm.
Like we said, if you don't like it, switch off.
Exactly. Or go back to bed at 6 o'clock.
Yes, exactly. Yeah, too early.
Have some chocolate at Christmas, for heaven's sake. Barry Hotwood's with us. Hello, Barry. How are you? Remember the first of the series, Carry On Sergeant, starred William Hartnell. Yeah, we covered that already. You can go and have a look at that on our Carry On playlist. That was the first one in our series. We've looked at that.
And of course, John Pertwee's in this one, of course.
Well, that was my actual link, because of course, in this one we've got a few from Doctor Who, but the big one, of course, is this one. Mr. Pertwee as the soothsayer. Look what I found in the market.
Yeah. Come round and have a butcher's. Yeah.
I mean, that great. I mean, again, it's just brilliantly British, isn't it? Gather round and have a butcher's. I mean, it's just brilliant. But this is John's first appearance in the Carry On films, believe it or not.
What tickled me was when Charles Haughey said, "This man can see the future." That tickled me. I must admit, becoming Doctor Who after this, But
because it wasn't far off at this particular point, was he?
Not too far. No.
Not too far off it. But that was it. But I love this performance from John, and this is the first of 4 in the Carry On films. Absolutely.
Yeah, you're counting Carry On Columbus, aren't you? On that one, are you?
I am carrying.
That's fine. That's okay. Fine.
I am, because there might be proper Carry On films, really, really, really devout ones. But again, like us, it's a little bit split. The last 2 Emmanuel and Columbus, some of them don't count, but some of them I don't personally really. But I thought on that one we better have.
I have never seen Carry On Emmanuel, but because we have the box set now, we'll have to watch it at some point, just out of interest. Yeah.
Oh, I can't get through it. But with Cleo, I just love John's performance here. When he turns up with this and you go, I remember seeing it for the first time as a kid. And when he walks in, just knowing it's him, even through the long hair, it's just amazing performance. It's just so pertwee, isn't it?
There's elements of kind of Wurzel in there a little bit, isn't there, as well, I think. But
there is, actually.
But it's interesting. I thought he was in it earlier in the film. I didn't realize he's in the last. He rides about sort of an hour and 10 minutes into it, and there's only about 15 minutes left. So he's really quite towards the end of the film. I thought it was earlier on he was in it from my memory, but I misremembered that.
I just want to mention this before we continue talking about Pertwee from Cara. Actually, the Infamy joke was written by Frank Muir and Dennis Norden and was used with their permission. Wow, I did not know that. Thank you for that. That's very interesting. I learned something else again about that. Isn't that brilliant?
Yeah.
Frank Muir, Dennis Norden, there's names.
It'll be all right on the night. That's for older viewers. Yeah. And Frank Muir, Everyone's a Fruit and Nut Case. That's another one for people of a certain age.
I always remember Ask the Family for him, as well as the Fruit and Nut, with the other gentleman.
Oh, you mean Call My Bluff, you mean?
Was that what it was? Oh, yeah. Yes, that's it. Yeah, but that was pretty cool. I remember Tom being on that.
One of them's on one of the box sets for Tom. I think maybe, is it season 14 or something like that? I think it's on there somewhere.
Yeah. Thanks for that, Cara. That's great news. Hi, Ben. Ben Casey's joined us as well. Paul Richards is saying to us here, Pod Square Wheels always made me laugh.
Yeah. It's his two-wheeler bicycle that makes me laugh. He's trying to get... It must be agony trying to ride that thing. Yeah.
He's trying to get all the way down there to Carlisle on that stupid thing. It was just absolutely amazing. Let's talk about Pertwee's performance in this, though, because it's another one of those great cameos that Pertwee was so good at doing, isn't it, guys? He would go in, do his bit, make the impression, and leave. There's something fantastic about how he does it all.
Oh, definitely. My favourite is Dr. Fettle from Carry On Screaming, the Scottish doctor who's recreates the monster from the finger. But he's very funny in this. I remember him saying at a convention somewhere that he got chucked out of drama college for being a wind. And made me laugh because he didn't want to be a wind, because he said, I didn't pay all this money to be taught to be a wind. But he does this fantastic woo when he comes in, and he does the exact same thing when he talked about being a wind at drama college. He did learn something from that, I think. But
it's a brilliant cameo though, and I love that particular one. We're getting lots of quotes and everything coming from you all in the chat. Thank you very much. And in this scene as well, where John's in, you keep missing out all the good bits. Yes, it does that. Oh my goodness, it's just so funny. Nile water, Steve. Yes. Ugh.
Yeah, I love that bit when Sid James comes back from Egypt and he says the Sphinx, and Kenneth Williams says, "I know they don't have any drainage."
Again, it's just great. It's just great lines, isn't it? I have seen your bust. I love that one where she says to him, "Ooh, you do not look like your bust," and it's all about bust, isn't it? But it's so innocent. Yeah.
And he says it's cracked.
Yeah, that's great. Yeah, thank you for all your comments on this. Keep it going. Steve is also saying to us here, I couldn't find my usual form. Oh dear. Yeah, class. They're all just brilliant ones. I mean, yeah, I know what you're talking about, but thank you for that. Yes, we've got Pertwee in this one as now. How many other Doctor Who people can we see in this as well, by the way? Well, we've got Sheila Hancock, of course, in this, as the aforementioned Senna Pod. We've got Peter Gilmore. He's in this as well. Did you spot him?
I spotted him, but he's infamous in Carry On films for What a Lovely Pair. That's him who does that in Carry On Nurse, doesn't it? So,
but there he is. Yeah, there he goes. And of course, we've got the wonderful, fantastic Wanda Ventham.
Oh yes, of course. Trying to buy Jim Dale.
I'm failing miserably. Yeah, that whole scene at Marcus and Spencer's. It's just
That's brilliant. And I love the WC gag as well. It's quite funny. The woman's, I can't remember the woman's name, but she's WC. He gets stamped on his arm.
Claudia.
Or branded, rather. Yeah.
What WC? And poor old Angus gets the lion.
Yeah, I love that gag. Oh, I hope the lions are a lovely family.
But again, it's that gag, isn't it, guys? About where he carries on. He said, "No, it's just at least it'll be quick. Your head in your mouth," and he goes, "Yes.
Yeah.
How am I going to get the lion's head in my mouth?" It's so stupid. It's funny. Oh, bless. Oh, come on. We might as well, as we've mentioned.
Now, did you spot the other Doctor Who actors out of interest?
Go on, then. Who else?
Well, Victor Maddern is in it from Fury from the Deep, and he's the sidekick to St. James when he goes to meet Cleopatra for the first time, and he's in the Roman Legion when they arrive in Britain at the start of the film. Yeah, and we have, I think it's I forgot his name now. Francis de Wolf from Caesar Marinus and Mythmakers is the Caesar's cousin who tries to kill him on the boat. So.
I didn't spot him actually. No, I didn't see that one. I knew I recognised him somewhere, but I just don't.
I'm just a SWAT, so that's all I'm saying.
So that's all there is to it. I want to talk about these two as well, because again, talk about relationships. We've talked about the brilliant between Mark Anthony and Caesar, but then you've got Jim Dale and you've got Kenneth Connor coming along here again, nailing this. Because again, this is totally bizarre that these two cavemen end up in ancient Egypt. It's so stupid. It's unreal.
What I love about the relationship is the fact that obviously Jim Dale looks after him. But what I do really like about the fact is that Kenneth Connor does a similar character to Carry On Sergeant. He's a bit of a weaker character.
Oh, it's the same character.
And then he becomes really strong. I love that when he's being the strong or pretending to be strong character, he's fooling nobody, but he's really funny at it,
Yeah. No, it's true, isn't it? That, and as Jack was saying there, the bit where he becomes the centurion.
I love it at the end. I love it at the end when he gets the potion and he can finally please his wife.
Yeah, and he's got about 14 children at that point. Yeah,
It must have been a hell of a lot of potion in that bottle, though, wasn't it? I mean, come on, that little teeny weeny bottle from Cleopatra. I love the way she's got some sort of ointment or potion for everything. Oh, I've got a little something for that. Yes. Off she goes.
I love the fact she has 4 baths a day, and James said, "You must milk those asses to a standstill," or something.
Ugh. Where did that come from? I want to know. Is there any historians in the audience? Because apparently that was a famous rumor that she would have all these baths, wasn't it? Really? I mean, she couldn't have done, surely.
That other gag really makes me laugh as well. The one with the asp, and he says, "One bite from this will kill him," and he bites it head off and goes, "That's disgusting." Of course, when he spits it out, that's brilliant. That's so funny.
That's just. I used to have a rubber snake when I was a boy, and that reminded me of that.
Yeah.
Oh, that was absolutely horrible. There's another one here as well. I'm reading from my notes here as well. The lovely fake commentary throughout the film every now and then that comes up, who is from E.V.H. Emmett, who plays the narrator, who apparently, well, I don't really remember him, but I remember his voice from lots of things because he did an awful lot of documentaries, apparently. And I seem to remember him from school documentaries and stuff. So he's quite famous for that. So E.V.H. Emmett. And I love the line that says, in an authentic British newsreel voice, isn't it here? He says here, that Cleopatra was immortalized by Macaulay in the famous poem, The Lay of Ancient Rome. And the other bit where he says, like an iceberg, you can see. Like an iceberg, you can you can only see a certain amount of her, and the more interesting parts are beneath the water. I'm paraphrasing. Absolutely ridiculous, isn't it, who viewers? But it works because it is ridiculous. Paul is saying to us here, Paul Richards is saying, Kenneth Connor had such wonderful facial expressions. He really, really did. He really did. And this is an interesting one here because I don't know about this, Mark Stevenson. You never see bloopers of the carry-ons if there were any.
Yeah, I've never seen any, no, that I can think of, no.
No. So they mustn't have kept anything that was around.
I have seen occasional, remember Barry Norman used to like film review, film 71, things like that. And I'm sure there are little extracts from interviews with people, like I think Carrying Up the Jungle's one, and they have interviews with Sid James and people like that. So I've seen behind the scenes bits and pieces, but never any actual outtakes, which is really weird.
It is, and it's a shame really, because I wonder how they got through it all. Because they must have had the odd bloop.
Yeah, it must have been. Yeah.
Hugh Pryor was saying to us here as well. My dad did tell me about someone who was famous for always having baths. And Just Jordan is saying, historian here. I don't know exactly how true the frequencies were, but she did bathe in donkey's milk and honey or essential oils. Oh, those poor donkeys.
Yeah.
Oh. And Julianne is pointing out, I wanted to come to this one as well. Joan Sims was in the trial of a Time Lord.
Indeed, yes. As Bonnie Langford's mum, yes.
Yeah, Bonnie Langford. No, she wasn't.
That's what she said. She said that herself. She said that, obviously.
She did say that, yeah. But I loved it. And this is one of my favourite scenes with Joan. Speak to me, Julie. as if he's going to sleep through that. But again, it's another great performance from Joan. Have you noticed the bit where she's presented with Julie Stevens' character from Bristol? Have you noticed the bit where Kenneth is going on, but I've got cheeses. I've got some Dutch cheeses. And there's another one. I've got some Spanish onions. And I've got stones from far off Gaul. And Charles Hutchy goes, she's got gallstones and all. And Joe Sims nearly goes, have you noticed? She cracks up. It's a good job they're turning around very quickly because she just knows she's going to go.
Well, I swear there's an actor. I've forgotten his name. He plays Brutus in this. I've forgotten his name. But there's lots of bits in the Senate where I think it's the bit where Kenneth Williams starts doing his Winston Churchill impression when he's doing that. When he's doing his speech, and I'm sure he's copsing because he's laughing a little bit. I don't know if you noticed that. I'm sure he is. Yeah.
I've always noticed that one. The bit where he just suddenly realizes what Kenneth's doing, which must have been different to how the rehearsal was, and he can't stop it, can he? He actually starts to smile. He can't stop as he suddenly realizes he's going into Churchill mode here.
It was lovely, really well done. Yeah. Yeah.
It is really well done, and I love the fact it's set when it was set, when they felt, because they were nearer to Churchill than we are. They would have known him, and they would have remembered all the inflections and stuff. It's just a wonderful moment. Jack, you don't even know who Churchill is, do you?
And it's not the insurance dog. It's not that. So. I'm only saying that because there's someone I was teaching a drama class a while ago, and one kid said to me, we're talking about Churchill, and they said, was it the dog off the insurance advert? And it wasn't. So that was it. So that's why I'm making that comment. So. They're only 7.
Cara's obviously a big Carry On fan here because she's telling us if you look for Carry On outtakes, there are a few, but they're very few and far between. It's such a shame, isn't it, that they didn't keep all that going, really, and keep it all safe so that we can enjoy them now on all these Blu-rays and DVDs and stuff like this. EVH Emmett did the opening Pathé News type monologues for the first series of Dad's Army.
Oh, did he really? Oh, right.
Didn't know that one. Thank you for that, Sam. Wow.
Neither did I. I'm a big Dad's Army fan. I need to check that later. That's good.
Exactly. Thank you, Sam. Brian Alton.
That's who. Well, yeah, he's in a lot of Hancock episodes. I think. Yeah.
Yeah, it was one of those actors that we grew up with.
Yeah.
Wasn't he really? Because he was on an awful lot of stuff. He wasn't in I, Claudius as well, was he?
I think he's in. The last thing I remember seeing him was 1985 was The Young Ones. He's in an episode of that, which is, I think his line is he thinks Felicity Kendall's sweetly pretty. I think that's the line he's got in it.
Oh, really?
Bizarre,
it wouldn't surprise me because I do remember him from some comedies as well. I'm sure he was in things like Terry and June and stuff. But my memory,
he's one of those actors who turns up everywhere. Yeah.
He was very familiar, wasn't he?
I think I saw the episode of Steptoe's Son a couple of nights ago on
really?
Entertainment TV. Yeah, as well. So yeah,
that's what I love. The other thing I love about these Carry On films is you can see all these actors still with us there doing what they do. I just love it. I absolutely love that. And Stephen is saying to us here, when Julie Stevens is presented to Joan Sims, she says, "And what am I supposed to do with that?"
Yeah, and Billy says the same thing to Caesar as well when he decides to give her to his wife, doesn't he? Yeah.
Yeah. Well, what did he say? Well, fair's fair. The last thing she gave me was what?
Oh, I can't remember now.
I can't remember
the
now,
line
but it was funny. Something totally useless. Oh, absolutely brilliant. But yeah, again, it's just a joy, this whole thing, isn't it, really? And it's just good to actually watch the thing and just laugh, isn't it, Jack?
Yeah. And also enjoy the amazing looking actresses.
Okay. Like Amanda Barry, you mean?
And those ladies in the Vestal Virgins.
Oh,
the Vestal Virgins, yeah.
Yes, that was something. Vestal version. I love that when he pulls the curtain back and says, "You know, I'm a eunuch."
Vestal Virgins are off tonight.
Yeah, off. Vestal version's off now. Oh my God.
It's that vase on his head is brilliant as well. Yeah.
Up to it's just classic British nonsense, isn't it, really? And Kenneth Connors again just playing it absolutely insanely brilliantly. I thought those little touches. It's just, are you really a Vestal Virgin? So I just absolutely love that scene. It's just amazing again, isn't it? And that's the whole scene where the whole infamy thing comes into it as well, isn't it? As he bursts into there. Do you know, I had to go and look this up about the whole thing about Vestal Virgin. I thought, what is this about? It's an amazing history. I looked up this years ago. It was amazing history about who they were. They were selected. These young girls were selected from anywhere between 6 and 10 years old, and then they became nun-like.
Yeah,
you know, for the whole life. And they got a pension when they retired, and they were able to marry if they wanted to when they retired. A lot of them didn't, according to what records there are, which is few and far between. Were you going to say, Paul?
No, I was going to say, I mean, that's why the units were there to make sure there was no hanky-panky, basically. That was it, so, yeah.
Oh, yeah. We've got this one as well. Another one we've not seen from Stephen. Gerton Klauber, who was in the Macroterra as Ola, was the guard at the slave auction.
And he's also in the Romans as well. So there we are.
Wow. And Up Pompeii must have been influenced by this carry-on, Sir Paul Richards. Has to be.
Now, I can't remember if Talbot Rothwell wrote Up Pompeii after this, or it was in production. I can't remember how late it was when they did that. Because there's the funny thing that happened on the way to the Forum was before. Was it before this or about the same time? Because that's a similar kind of sort of.
I think it was after that. I think it was after this. I think.
And John Pertwee's in that as well, actually. So
yes, he is. He is actually brilliant in that one. So yeah. So this is what we've got. We've got history here. I'm saying history. Elements of history stuck together in this film. But it's a real pastiche of the big Cleopatra film. Obviously, they are really getting at that in every way that they can, in a nice, humorful, respectful sort of way, I would say. But it's just all these little bits of history coming into it, isn't it? It's just very bizarre. It does get at the British folk as well, because we're just so primitive. When you look at where the Romans are and where the ancient Egyptians are, and then these two little cavemen come into it. I'm talking about Brontosaurus and stuff. It's just ridiculous. It makes the Brits look really backwards, doesn't it? But it does, as you'll know, everybody, it does involve the whole plot about trying to bump off poor old Caesar, especially by these two. And again, this is a lovely double act. There's lots of double acts in this film. You know, you've got Sid with Kenneth and as Mark Antony and Caesar. You've got Jim Dale with Kenneth Connor. You've got Calpurnia, played by Joan Sims, with Sid James. You've got Charles Hawtrey with Caesar as well. I mean, there's lots of little lovely moments between them. And this is another one here where you've got Sid James with Amanda Barry. And it just comes across really nicely. These two have got this whole sort of... It's just funny, isn't it? It's just brilliant. It's nicely played.
But like I said at the start, I think it's a really clever idea to make Cleo appear to be a bit of a bimbo, but she's not. She's quite clever, but she plays it slightly ditzy, doesn't she? Which is very, very funny to watch, you know.
See, it's really funny to watch, and I love the fact she plays it ditzy and sort of girly and wibbly and wobbly. This is supposed to be the Empress of ancient Egypt. She's
in Carry On Cabby as well. She plays one of the
first female
Cabby, and she plays it a little bit like that and that as well, which is really nice, really funny performance.
But you can see why they cast her as well, because she does look amazing, Amanda Barry. It just looks absolutely fantastic. And if you're going to cast somebody to play Cleopatra when the Elizabeth Taylor movie is still around, this was another shot in the arm for that film. I think another one to say, "Oh look, baba." Do you know what I mean?
Yeah, as much as I love Barbara Windsor in the Carry On films, I'm not quite sure if she could pull this off the same way. I don't think, But
no, well,
I
don't think she would have done. I don't think she would have done. I think it would have been a different thing completely.
Yeah,
had Barbara played it, but she didn't. It was always meant to be Amanda Barry, and I'm actually really pleased about that. But again, that rapport with Sir James, it's just so good. Sorry, I thought you were going to say something.
No, I'm just agreeing with you. I think it's true. I think that the relationship with I think Sid James is brilliant in this, but I think Amanda Barry for me steals the film because she is so funny in it. She really, for someone who's not a regular in it, really, she really kind of holds her own. Don't you think?
Oh, totally, absolutely, and she's just so. I mean, you're saying that she steals the film. In a sense, she does, because she is playing this very beautiful, powerful queen, empress, really, in a sense, isn't she?
Yeah.
Famous to this day, famous in history. And here they are, and she's taking the pee out of it in a very kind way. She really is. She's going, she's doing the dumb blonde thing without it being blonde, Yeah,
exactly. Yeah.
Hello. I'm the queen. Hello.
But you can see, though, although that's like a front, because she's obviously very clever, because she's using it to
manipulate people. Frontiers.
She's using it to manipulate people brilliantly, I think, don't you? It shows the kind of the politician a little bit as well, because she's manipulating everybody, to get her own way.
Totally. And all that thing about, I couldn't wait to cement our alliance.
Yeah. I've got a fresh towel with me,
It's absolutely fantastic. Thanks for joining us, everybody, here for Who's Views Reviews. We're looking at Carry On Cleo. I love this line as well. I mean, this film is full of brilliant lines. Oh, the indignity. Who's in charge of the public transport system? You are, sir. Do you know what? It's great to see you all. Here's somebody else that's joining us now as well. Knows a lot about Carry On Cleo. Loves it to bits. I'm delighted to say Jodie's with us. Hello. Oh, let's see if I can do that. Are you there? You've got your mic on.
That's it.
There you are. Hello.
Hi.
Hello.
How are you?
There.
Listen, do you realize we are celebrating this film because it's 60 years old this year?
Oh, is it?
Yes.
I wasn't exactly sure when it was made, so that would make it
1964.
64. God.
Isn't that amazing?
Are you channeling Amanda Barry there, Jodie? Are you channeling Amanda Barry there, just being a bit ditzy there with the dates?
Definitely not. She's amazing.
Okay, just.
We've got Jack here with us as well. We are appreciating 60 years of Carry On Cleo. Joe, what's your favourite part of this, or are there a number of favourite parts?
Oh, there are probably a number of favourite parts. I'm trying to think. There were so many jokes when I was watching it again. I'd actually forgotten. But probably when I was growing up, Jim Dale, I really loved Jim Dale. So his character in it was really, for me, very special. And I just thought Amanda Barry was absolutely gorgeous in it. Absolutely gorgeous. Yeah. I mean, she just made such an impression on me, I have to say. And I love how she played it like she was really innocent, but the things she actually said were pretty horrific. As I said, just get rid of everybody because you've got to be emperor, and then I can be the empress.
Yeah. We touched on this in the last film, but we talked about Carry On Sergeant, the very first Carry On in our last Carry On show, which of course was in the late 50s. This one moves on now to 1964, the 10th Carry On film in the series. So a nice round number for that one. So things have moved on. We're seeing more of the regular team in here. As I said, we've got Sid James, Kenneth Williams, Kenneth Connor, Charles Hawtrey, Joan Sims, Jim Dale. The main part of the no Hattie Jakes in this, strangely, but where would she have gone, I suppose? But there we go. But Joe, this is the Carry-Ons in full flight of where they are, really, with the whole the innuendo, the clever writing.
It was very clever.
Yeah. And also, we're saying as well, when we touched on this before, but I want to get your take on this sort of stuff. Which I think is hilarious.
I suspect, though I haven't forced my children to watch a Carry On yet, I suspect it wouldn't sit well with today's youth, the vast majority of today's youth. I mean, I actually think it's kind of sad because it is just funny. And it was, I mean, if you actually watch them, I think it's really funny if you watch them at the very end. You know, when he goes into the bath with her at the very, very end.
Yes.
And they're sort of hugging. It's actually really, it just looks funny. It doesn't look like nasty. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
It's innocent. That's the thing.
Yeah. Although the jokes are all very, like, you know, very double entendre.
Yeah.
There was, I just felt they didn't cross a line. I felt there was a line that was not crossed. And that's what makes it still funny to me today and how I can watch them and enjoy them. And I don't take it seriously. But I think people do, unfortunately, take it too seriously.
Yeah. Well, they must do. I mean, I love that ending as well because you can actually see Sid James laughing at or with Amanda Barry, and then she's like,
and she's laughing too. You know, she's not.
Yeah, it's a lovely end.
Yeah.
You know, it's just fantastic. Jack, what as our young person on the panel this evening?
Here we
offensive
go.
Or not offensive?
Not offended at all. It's just funny, you know, and. It's really annoying because I think as a guy, although sad excuse for one, it's
bless him.
You know, we like that kind of stuff. You know, we like the sort of playful banter, sexual innuendo, and this film and all the Carry On films do it so well. Mm-hmm. And I think, you know, many girls who I see nowadays would love it just as much. You know, I think I want people to remember that it's unfortunately a very loud minority. I think, you know, a lot of us behave not too differently to how you guys did back then. It's just sadly lots of us aren't aware of these older comedies or perhaps like not willing to give it a watch because it's too old. But I'm lucky to have had my grandparents, so this kind of stuff was the norm to me. And, you know, it's funny because when I watched them as a kid, I wasn't quite so tuned into a lot of the jokes. And now watching them, I'm like, oh my God, how did that go over my head? And how did they get away with this? You know, it's brilliant.
I don't think you're excuse me, I don't think you're alone there, Paul, because I remember watching this back in the day. Mm-hmm. I mean, you know, we grew up with these things on television in their entirety. And I fell in love with these things because, as Jodie says, they were just funny. Mm-hmm. I still find it very, very funny to think that people paid to go into a cinema and sit there with other people and watch this on a big screen and laugh together. We missed that one. But you're right, Jack. You know, as kids, when we're watching this, you're excited about the bits that are funny, and all the innuendo goes over your head. Mm-hmm. I don't think it necessarily would today. I don't think they would get the humor because what they grow up with today is more enforced and it's more real, isn't it? It's not fantasy like what we got.
I would love to see this film in the cinema because I have been to see other comedy films, older films in the cinema, and it makes a huge difference watching with an audience because there are some bits you miss a gag and don't get it, or someone laughs at something you didn't particularly find funny, and then you get the gag and things like that. So I think having a shared audience and a theatre watching, I'd love to see this at a cinema, you know, because it makes such a difference to the experience, I think.
Oh, isn't it a shame that they haven't done what they've done with certain other films, Star Trek and everything? Excuse me. I mean, this is classic British comedy and classic British filmmaking, which we're never going to see the likes of ever again. It's a shame for the 40th, the 60th, Joe, that they haven't put it back in the films.
Yeah, I think that people are embarrassed by the Carry-Ons now, which I've never quite understood. I think they're fabulous. Mm-hmm. And if they happen to be on the telly, I will often just leave them on playing and watch them again because they just, I just don't find they wane. Every time I watch them, I can see something new that I didn't see before. You know, and I remember most of Carry On Cleo. There was very little I hadn't remembered, though. That's when I've watched a lot.
That's what we were saying earlier, Jodie. What? We were saying that earlier when we first came on that we watched it a couple of times in quick succession and we picked up in bits we hadn't remembered or didn't get the gag or whatever. And it's great you can rewatch them and get new things from them. That shows how good they are.
Yeah.
I mean, it was funny. You know the bit where Jim Dale goes about the lions?
Yes.
That's brilliant. How did you do that? So, it just
it's actually quite powerful, that bit there, isn't it?
Yes, it's so well done.
But it's like I was saying at the top of the show. It was only this week that I noticed that Charles Hawtrey is in the Senate. You know, he's there when Kenneth is doing the old waffle. You know, the Winston Churchill impression. I did not realize up until the other night. How have I missed that over the billion times I've seen this thing going on here?
And bizarrely, he's got a very distinctive costume, that kind of grey smock he's got on, and all the rest of the people have white togas on. You know, so how I missed that, I don't know. You know? because they didn't pay for any of the costumes because they'd all been left by the Cleopatra gang. They only got one costume each. We've got here from Stephen Braddock. What are you waiting for? What? The ultimatum? What? Give it to her. What? Give it to her. Certain lines like that, everybody, that shows where it's coming from. It is funny, but it's totally tacky, and it's down to how they play it. Just Jordan was telling us as well, it's all tongue in cheek. And Sam is saying to us, no Peter Butterworth in this one, but then I suppose he and Kenneth Connor played the same role. Can't remember them both being in the same film that often. They were in Abroad together, I remember that. I'm trying to remember which films Peter Butterworth's in. He's in Carry On Camping, and Kenneth Connor's not in that, is he? I think
Peter Butterworth's in Carrying Up the Khyber as well.
Yeah.
He's the minister, isn't? Is he the minister?
Yeah, but Kenneth Connor isn't in that one.
No, he's not.
No.
This is something we'll have to go through as we're looking through these Carry On films to see where they're both in it together. Yeah,
there was a gag that I got as well in this, and I don't know if it's just my imagination, but there's a bit where it's Kenneth Connor first allegedly kills all the people in the Temple of Vesta, and they're all and Sid James looks at everyone. He looks at the camera and says, "What a carve up." Is that a gag about the film that him and Kenneth Connor made together about the haunted house?
It could be.
They made a film called What a Carve Up, and I think Michael Gough's in it, and it's set in a haunted house.
It wouldn't surprise me because that's what they did all the time. They would reference other things, wouldn't they? You know, and some of the actors' work that they've been in, that can come up a bit, you know. But so it wouldn't surprise me if it was, or it could have been a happy accident. I don't know. Somebody in the chat may know. I like this from Paul, who's telling us here. Paul Richards is saying, my mother saw Carry On, Don't Lose Your Head in the cinema. She said the crowd was in hysterics. That's what I like to hear, because I just can't imagine these films in the cinema.
That's my personal
I never
favorite.
saw any.
Oh, is that your favorite, Jack? Yeah.
It's a good one.
We will come to that at some point. We will time.
The black fingernail.
About jokes that I'm just getting now as I'm older. It was the one where he's Citizen B-Day's got the information, and Citizen Camembert says, go on, get it out. Get it out. And he's like, get what out, sir?
Again, it's down to the fantastic acting on it, isn't it?
There's another line like that with Kenneth Williams when he's going to get killed. They try to assassinate him for the first time. He says, what are you doing with your thing?
What are you doing with your thing?
Yes.
Mark is asking us, are the Carry-Ons on Blu-ray? Yes, they are here in the UK. They've started coming out. Personally, I'm a bit disappointed with how they've done it, because being the person I am, I like them in order. And these are not in order. They've mixed black and white with colors, and they're all over the place. So they are there, though. Apparently they look fabulous. A friend of mine who likes Carry-Ons has bought the first one, I think it is, and says they cleaned up beautifully, especially the black and whites. Apparently they look pristine. And he said, oh no, just buy them anyway. But I can't have them on my shelf, not in order. That's just the way I am. I'm sorry. And the Lady Knightsbridge is saying to us here, the Carry-Ons are not offensive. There's so much filth available on our phones. I don't understand how anyone can object to the gentle, smutty lives we get with the Carry-On films. That's a brilliant point.
The thing is, it's like with Carry-Ons is, the innuendo is there, but there's nothing that, like, a child isn't going to understand that. You know, I mean, if you look at Shrek as an example, that has got loads of adult innuendo in it.
Yeah.
But, you know, the kids can still watch it. But today they make shows where there is really explicit sexual content, but that's okay for kids to watch. But, oh my God, someone says a naughty word. Yeah. So it's really hypocritical, you know, to hold the Carry-Ons to a standard. But, you know,
I think also as well, there's a very big I can only say this because I've heard people say it. There's a very big attitude that it was always very sexist. And I don't have a lot of time for that, because I think the women in it are fabulous actresses. Yes, they do put them in tiny costumes, I know, but it's hilarious because there was Jim Dale running around in Carry On Cleo. That smock was barely past his bum.
I know, and I think he knew it. I don't know what you mean about tiny costumes, though. No idea what you mean about that at all.
But
to quote
really
Janet Fielding, it's like a band-aid, isn't it? So
well, I just found it funny. It never seemed to me to cross that line, you always had really strong female characters in it as well. Like Joan Sims as Calpurnia. She's just class in this. As always, she's just amazing. That look she gives up when she looks up when he's on top of the bed, the bodyguard,
and she said
just brilliant.
It is brilliant.
Really well done. And I think that's what they possibly suffer from, but I think it's sad because I think they're wonderful. I really do.
Well, like Barry is saying, carry-ons are basically moving seaside postcards.
They are.
That's exactly what they always were. And all those years, the people that were making them, not many of them are still around with us now, of course, sadly, but every single one of them was saying, no, it was British seaside humour captured on film. And you can see that. It's because, it's just smuttiness, but it's fabulous smuttiness. And Jack, I love your point, and I love the point we had there as well from the chat. Basically saying there is much more nonsense around today, which is much more in your face. So you are right, Jack. It is hypocritical of these people to say these things are offensive. Or Barbara wearing in Doctor the hearts and all that. That's not offensive at all when there's much more graphic in your face stuff today. No, I think you've got a great point there.
And it's not political. It's not trying to shove anything down your throat. It's just trying to make you laugh.
No matroners. No, you do on that one. That would be exactly what would happen today, though. But you're right, though. It's a shame. Paul Richards is saying to us here, Jack, I love Kenneth Williams' reaction to Kenneth Connor saying Vestal virgins are off today. I still love that scene. It's brilliant. And Mark said they never did a space carry-on. You can get a fan version of Carry On Star Wars or Carry On Up the Death Star, can't you?
Oh, I've seen that with Darth Vader's voice by Kenneth Williams.
Yeah. Oh, no, yeah. Stop mucking about. Yeah. It is quite funny, though. This is good from the Legion of James. Look at this. Our local contemporary art cinema did a marathon of camping behind Dick, Doctor, and Loving for Alzheimer's dementia charity when Barbara passed away.
Nice.
Oh, fabulous.
How fabulous is that? That's wonderful. What a shame not all of them did that. That would have been a hilarious day, though, put all those together. Oh, bless her. But it is such a shame that they haven't celebrated the 60th anniversary of Carry On Cleo, because I think you're right, Paul. I think if this was put on today, like with the Dalek films when they did that, I think it would look glorious because it's just so beautiful.
Well, I think it's the costumes and everything. It's wow.
Yeah. Well, I think I said this before in the previous one. I went to see. I'm a big fan of the Marx Brothers, and I saw Horse Feathers in the cinema, and I'd never seen it with an audience before, and it's so much better with an audience than it was just watching it when you're told. It really was, So
yeah. Just Jordan is saying to us here, it was of the time, and again, a lot of it was tongue in cheek. But Hattie Jakes played plenty of the stronger female characters. She did. She absolutely did. I mean, that was the whole point. I mean, Joe, you mentioned this on the last Carry On show. The female characters were of their time, but actually, some of the Carry On films made them more than just the glamour sex object, didn't they?
Yeah.
You did have these strong women in there as well, which was slightly ahead. I mean, we all know the stories as well that the actresses in these films got less than the men.
Yes, they did.
That was Britain at the time as well. It's absolutely horrendous to think of it.
I mean, there's no point in bemoaning the way the culture was at the time. It was what it was. You know, it's history. But I think it's important we know it, and I don't agree with this trying to whitewash it nonsense. I just think we should own up to what our past is. And they were paid like again. It's shocking they weren't paid for the reruns, and all these things are just absolutely awful. And they should be there so that people never get exploited like that again. But I mean, Carry On Cleo was just, I mean, it was cast so beautifully. I mean, Amanda is just phenomenal in it. Her comedy acting and timing is an absolute masterclass. She's just fab. The way she uses her eyes and the constant sort of pushing the chest out, it's just so funny, and she does it so well. And I remember her talking in an interview about her not having the boobs that they wanted, and them being disappointed. And I think you can see in her costumes that sort of built them out every time to try and make her look a bit more well endowed.
Well, this ties in with what Barry is saying. Just Paul Ashworth, thank you for your comment. The innuendo was really funny. It's just British, and the humor really worked, and I think it still works today. I hope it's not a dying thing. I hope we can still laugh, because I was laughing my head off over the last couple of nights, really enjoying it. But Barry was saying here, I remember Amanda Barry describing how they sent her to a Harley Street doctor to see if he could give her injections to help her fill out the tiny costumes. See, that's unheard of today, isn't it? That would be outrageous today. But
I heard a similar story. Burt Ward, who played Robin in the Batman TV series, had a similar problem with that, to make his manhood smaller because he looked a bit too rude in his underpants. So that wasn't very good.
Oh, look, here we are. Mark is saying to us here, I think Hattie Jakes wasn't in Cleo because she was tied to Sykes. That would make sense.
Yeah, maybe,
because Sykes was a massive TV series, of course, and a lot of these comedy actors were crossing over all the time, at that particular time, and they were all busy. Whether it be on radio or BBC television, ITV, of course, was really making it by this point 60 years ago. Lots and lots of things here. So I think as well, we all know that the Carry On films was a poison chalice for them all as well, because Kenneth Williams in his diary, which was published 20 years after they finished or something, hated them. And he just continued to do them. And of course, it did kill a lot of their careers. Barbara Windsor, Kenneth Williams, a lot of them, they were typecast too much. So when they ended, they all went through they all went through those terrible times, didn't they? But God love them for carrying on doing them, if you'll pardon the pun.
The thing about the actors, particularly, Sid James, for instance, did a lot of straight acting, and he's a superb straight actor. And he's in Quatermass 2, the movie version. And he's such a good actor, but he got typecast as a comedy actor and basically played himself right up until his death, didn't he? Because we did Bless His House and stuff like that. He was playing a version of Sid James, wasn't he? Which is such a shame.
The funny thing about Sid James's performance, and I've often thought about this, because most men would come over incredibly creepy doing what Sid James did. It would just be like, ooh, and he never does that. I don't know how. But he's
got a real twinkle, don't you think? That's the thing.
Creepy to me.
Yeah.
Ever. Yeah. I loved Sid James. I just thought he was amazing, and I always loved him in a Carry On, because you knew it was in safe hands, and you knew it was going to be really, really funny.
Yeah.
He was just brilliant.
It's strange to me as well that this character, he's obviously playing Mark Antony, but it's strange to me it's not Sidney Mark Antony.
Yeah.
He always plays.
Like you said earlier, it's a Cockney. Mark Antony.
I love the fact that it's a Cockney Mark Antony. Blimey. I've been saying that for the last couple of days, actually. Blimey. Sticking us on the end of it. It sounds vaguely Romanesque. Probably get complaints now. Thank you very much for all your chats. Keep them coming. There are some great stuff here as well from you all. I love the fact that everybody's so knowledgeable. We've got here a lovely another quote from Stephen. Bilius Caesar, there is a messenger here without. Julius Caesar, I'm not surprised. If we stay here much longer, we'll all be without. Just brilliant lines, isn't it? Slagging off Britain as well, that was in a playful way, but we all laughed.
Did it come before or after Asterix in Britain, can I ask? Does anybody know that? Because there's a joke in Asterix in Britain when the Romans come to conquer Britain about them stopping for tea during battles.
Yes.
And I would love to know which came first.
Yeah.
Was it Carry On Cleo and that was lifted by the Asterix writers? Or was it Asterix? I meant to look that up today and I forgot.
Yeah, I should know that because I sold them for years. If you know in the chat, let us know. If you know about that
when was Asterix in Britain published?
I would love to think that Asterix stole it from the Carry On films. That would be lovely.
So would
I would love to do that.
But that was just so joke.
It was totally typically British though, that whole thing though, wasn't it really? Somebody shouts tea up and they all disappear. And because that was at the time that was a British thing, everybody would have loved that in the cinema. They would have held that going, that's exactly what happens The whole factory would close for tea. Amazing. Legion of James is also saying to us, the men in Carry On films were the butt of far more jokes and mockery. Everyone and everything is fair game in Carry On, and that's why we love them. I totally agree with that. And in Carry On Cleo, that comes out because, okay, you've got Amanda playing a very sexy blonde, if you like, in the traditional style of the term, Cleo. She's playing Cleo dumb, but Cleo knows she's dumb, so therefore she's got to use the assets and everything like this, and that's how she's playing it. But you've also got an incredibly stupid Julius Caesar. You've got Charles Hawtrey playing a very stupid Seneca. Even Mark Antony isn't the full shilling, really. No. He's supposed to be a big warrior because he falls for the woman, and she knows it like that. You know, she's got him right there. The future emperor. She wants him to be emperor so she can just use and abuse him. She's not that stupid, is she? But no, that's a great one, Legion of James. Thank you for that. Where else we got? Oh, Problem Beings with us as well, saying, can we go back to Brits being prudish about sex again? It made for the best comedy. Now everyone is open and talking about sex 24/7. Everyone's lost their sense of humor. Is this a coincidence? No, I don't think so.
No, it's not, no.
And I do agree with that. I like the more British style of we don't talk about it, but we can laugh about it. You know, it's a shame, really, isn't it?
Panto still does it.
Who?
Panto
still does it. Yeah. Because we did Dick Whittington and Dumfries a few years ago, and there was lots of discussion about whether some of the dick should be cut out.
Oh, I'm glad I wasn't in that one.
Dick. Yes, exactly.
Yeah, I would have loved all that. No, don't cut out the dick.
The kids won't get that, but the rest of the audience will.
It's terribly British. Don't cut it out. I'm already coming up with lines. Steve Thompson is saying to us here, Joan Sims was well served by the Carry-Ons, the most versatile of the team, in my opinion. Yeah. Super actress. She was an amazing, what we used to call character actress, wasn't she?
Yeah.
She was a proper character actress, you know.
And
again, Steve, she was hit by what they called in a lot of the books the curse of the Carry-Ons, because she didn't get work as much.
Well, I was saying this, my wife and I were watching Carry On Cowboy a while ago, and she's superb in that. Yeah. And she gets to play a sexy part as well, which is really good, you know, because normally she's a bit frumpy and things, you know. But which is
you know? She certainly was that she got on as well. But I've said to you before, I've discovered a lot of the 90s shows now because I was always out in the 90s or working in the 90s. So I've discovered a lot of them now. And Joan crops up in a couple of comedies. She's in a Victoria Wood one, a sketch there, Men's Sana and Thinking Me Doodah. She's also in a couple of other comedies I've seen, and she's brilliant. She's absolutely brilliant. You know, when she has these guest roles in them, and it's a different character she plays in each one, and it just shows you how talented.
She's very good.
Yeah. And then the bit in Doctor Who where she comes along with that. Remember at the time when she was cast as Katrika, it was always Carry On actress, and that was 1986. God love her. You know, and she hadn't done a Carry-On since the 70s. 78 was her last one. What a shame. Hello, Thomas. Nice to see you. They're all good actors who could play straight, serious roles and are just letting their hair down. Plus, they put bums on seats. Well, even Barbara, of course, very versatile actress. She'd done some really heavy stuff as well, and she did the Carry-Ons. But
by the way, Asterix in Britain the year after.
Ah, well done.
So they stole it. Superb, lovely.
I think they stole
it. Fantastic. Well done, everyone. They must have done, mustn't they? They must have seen that. Oh, we'll have that. That's funny. I love that. John is saying anything Sid did was fantastic. Yeah. Maximus Big Bunce, says Steve Hindley. What else we got here from him? Oh yes, and Problem Being saying to us, Cleo is so manipulative in this story. I totally agree. Yeah, she is. She just knows that she's got to do something to remain. I love the fact that it's just totally different to the big serious one that flopped. Yes. I wonder if this was more successful than Cleopatra.
I've never actually seen the Elizabeth Taylor version. I wish I could dig it out, but
it's very long.
Yeah,
it's about 6 days long.
Yeah, it's very long.
It's just, and it's actually quite dull in places. It could have done with a lot.
It's very beautiful, but it's not pacey.
Yeah,
no, it's not.
It's about 3 hours long or something, but it's got an all-star cast, hasn't it? Though it's got lots of people in it. Yeah.
It is.
Well, it has.
It's beautiful and it is amazing, but ironically, I've watched it once.
Yeah.
The same cannot be said of Carry On Cleo.
Now you see that's very good of you, Joe. Because do you remember the big fuss when it came out on DVD?
Yeah.
I've still got it, the big gold pack celebratory thing, first time on DVD, and I bought that gold pack. And Jack, it had these DVDs in it. There was 4 DVDs in, I think, and the film split over 2 discs. I still haven't got through it. I couldn't get through the whole film. I think I got halfway through and thought, I'm going out now, and I've never gone back to it.
I kind of watched it while ironing, so I'm not saying I was fully engaged.
Yeah. There we go. Julianne confirming Asterix in Britain was published in 1965. Paul Richards is saying to us here, as children, we used to laugh at Charles Hawtrey walking around with that pot on him.
It was the Jaunty angle.
The little French
angle.
Yeah, at least it's wearing a little hat. Yeah,
they even got that right, you know.
Yeah.
It's that music as well. I can hear it in my head now, and we can't film it for copyright reasons. But it's that music, isn't that twinkly music as you move? But how ridiculous is that scene? It's just ridiculously funny. That wasn't there before. And it's just, blimey, she's
the fact the Britons are hiding as well.
Yeah,
there's all the Britons, and there's the
St.
Paul.
James says, "My God, she's selling tickets or something."
St. James onto the third.
It's just classic being, isn't it? What's Legion of James saying to us? The beauty of innuendo humor is that it's entirely down to your own naughty mind. So for those who are offended, it's entirely on them. Ooh, matron, good point. That is a really good point, isn't it? I love that. You're very right. It's like they used to say, beauty is in the eye of the beholder. So it's a similar thing for rudeness, isn't it? Really, as well.
Well, I'm going to hold my hand up and say I'm very naughty then, because I love it. I have to say, but yeah.
It's fantastic. And this is it. Thank you, Sam. Joan Hims was in on the Up with Dennis Woodman, Sam Kelly, and a couple of Only Fools and Horses. Yes, you're right. She was in a lot in the 90s, wasn't she? She was absolutely fantastic. And Cara is saying there's a common urban myth that the British soldier always stopped for tea. I love that.
Wouldn't surprise me.
Yeah. Well, they do something similar, don't they? With Sydney Rough Diamond, where they all stop for dinner. I can't wait till we're looking at that.
Tiffin. It's Tiffin they have, isn't it?
Yeah, it's Tiffin.
But that's a euphemism for how's your father, isn't it? So that's the thing.
Yeah. Even to this day.
To get the vernacular in, obviously, but yeah.
I do have to chuckle when I see Cadbury's Tiffin still on the shelves at P&M. Any other favourite moments from this particular film? I think one of mine has to be this. You know, the whole vision. We were talking about John Pertwee's role in this before. Yeah. I love the fact that in this point, Kenneth nearly pulls off drama.
Yes, well, he's doing Macbeth, isn't he? So there we are.
I'm not saying this in any malicious way because I love him to bits, as you know. I think he's fantastic. But in this sort of prediction scene, he's almost serious. Although a part of him in his head, because he was quite prissy and snobbish, we know that. Bless him. He's got it's a carry on, so I can't do the Shakespeare thing. I can't. He was very capable of playing Shakespeare. He really was capable of playing Shakespeare, but at this point he said, "No, I can't." But in this whole vision thing, where he's playing the butcher Caesar, he's almost there. You can almost see it, and at some reason he backs off from actually delivering what could be that sort of Shakespearean. Do you know what I'm saying?
Yeah. And John Pertwee was overacting to within an inch of his life with the tongue and.
Do you think so?
Yeah.
I mean, it was brilliant. It was a great comedy performance, but it was total panto. It really was.
Everything he does in the carry-ons, but he's in Carry-On Cowboys, deaf and blind.
Oh,
sheriff, with the ear trumpet and everything, and the big thick lenses, all that kind of stuff. He loves a over-the-top performance, doesn't he?
Do you not think the bit where Pertwee comes in as the soothsayer and he does this gather around and have a butcher's thing, and they all look into the fire as though it's a telly? It's a time travel machine or something, and they're all looking at. Do you not think that's actually quite another bit of clever writing here? Because
the writing's superb.
Oh, it is. Talbot Rothwell.
The ogre joke as well. It's just it relies on people actually having some intelligence, which I don't think a lot of modern comedy does.
Yeah.
It also relies on them having quite a wee bit of general knowledge. Cenopod and there's a whole load of stuff that completely passed me by when I was younger, and I actually think, gosh, it's really very clever.
It's that bit where Sheila Hancock at the start. She's flirting with Jim Dale and says, "I've not had a chance, but I lick a wood on." Fantastic stuff.
I love the voice she puts on for that. It's very telephone voices we used to have in the old days. Jack, a telephone. I haven't had this. I love it all. But that thing about the fact that you get a sort of prediction scene. So you've got the two Kenneths there being quite playing it for real, as it were, really. And then you get the actual scene where it's just completely camp and it's gone the other way. I love that because you've got how it should be. And then the bit where they mess it up because poor old Hengist is crapping himself because he thinks he's going to get stabbed to death.
And she's rolled out the carpet and hits the table with the chicken leg and the grapes.
Yeah, we were saying that earlier when she's flirting about the little kind of love potion and she pulls out the grapes to sort of show the anticipation of having sex is brilliant. So well done, you know.
Well, yeah, the fact is it makes us laugh. And that's the brilliant thing about it, isn't it? It's making us all laugh even today. It's just absolutely fantastic. But it's comic timing. They understood what they were being given in a script. They get on, they rehearse it, then they film it, and it's just comic timing, and they all bounce off each other beautifully. And the fact is, as well, we've also got to talk about the three people that are filming this thing, and of course, with the director, with Gerald Thomas's direction, because he did them all.
Yeah.
Hence the house style. It's just amazing, that, isn't it? But the timing is just wonderful, considering that as well. They weren't allowed to do things more than once because of the very tight purse string.
One take was all you got, I think. That was it, yeah.
So make the most of it. I was saying before, Jay, before you came on, I think it was before you came on, Jack, as well, one of my favourite moments is with Joan Sims, where Caesar is saying to Capernia, "I've got you some Dutch cheeses. I've got you," and she says, "I've got some Dutch cheese. I've got some Spanish onions. I've got some Spanish onions." And then he says, "I've got you stones from far off Gaul." And Charles Hawtrey shouts, she's got gallstones. And I love the fact that because she's only in that one take, she has to, when she turns, and you just know she's going to burst out laughing when she turns. I love that scene. It shows Joan appreciating
she's got another great bit which she does, which is berating Caesar about don't get involved with Egyptian women. I've heard so much about them, and then Caesar's talking, and then he says, "Oh, what they're like," and they start gossiping about it. And he says, "No, I don't." It's brilliantly done, really funny.
And then the battle act returns. And then the way she treats Charles, so goodbye, Daddy, spoiled girl. Absolutely brilliant. Stephen Braddock is saying to us here, "I grew up in this world and I loved it. It is nice to see so many people love it too." And another quote here with Brutus: "The Senate are worried about matters in the East, the affairs involving Ptolemy and Cleopatra. Julius Caesar, are they having an affair? Oh, do tell." Yeah. Classic moments, aren't they? They're just brilliant. Paul is saying one of his favorite quotes is, "I've come hot foot from Rome." Yeah, and the steam rising up. It's just it's a silly gag.
The Ptolemy gag as well, and the Senate's funny, and he goes, "And Ptolemy, I'm telling you," that kind of stuff.
I am telling you.
I also like Jim Dale's face. The bit when he's being sold off in the auction, and there's the two women.
Yeah.
And he's egging on, and then finally it says, "Oh, your name, mark him up," and it's Willa Claudia or something.
Yeah.
And he stays, and I'm like, actually, that's one that probably got lost in translation with almost every other country, but it was very funny in our country.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
I love that bit. Well, he's so desperate. So look, 41, I'll pay you back.
Yes. Yes. The wee regret in her face.
Yeah. Oh, bless him. It's just so brilliant. The whole Jim Dale again. What an actor. I mean, in this his comics, he's so physical in everything he does. I mean, the legs are everywhere and the arms are everywhere, and he's the action man of the Carry-Ons, isn't it?
Yes.
He must have realized, this must have been the point really, when he suddenly realized, "Ooh, I can do more here. I've got to get away from all this." Because he didn't last much after this, did he?
Well, he's got, I always forget the order of the films, but he's in Carry On Cowboy as the sanitary inspector.
He's in Cowboy, which is after this, and then he goes to Screaming.
Yeah, and he's brilliant in both of those.
Then that's it.
Yeah.
Well, he doesn't. No, he actually no. He does follow that camel and stuff like that, doesn't he? But it must have been about this time he's thinking, how long can I do these for?
Yeah.
I don't know. Maybe I'll have to look in that. But maybe
because he's in Carry On Spying before this as well, isn't he? I think. Yeah.
He's in Don't Lose Your Head.
Yeah, he's definitely
yeah,
Don't Lose Your Head.
Yeah, when we come to doing that film, I'm going to argue it wouldn't work without him in that film. I don't know if Cleo would work without Jim Dale as well, because they didn't have another action hero, did they?
They used Roy Castle in Khyber.
Yeah.
He came closest, I would say. Yeah, I think he came closest, but I don't think he had the physicality of Jim Dale.
No. I know.
He played the buttoned-up soldier very well.
Yeah.
But I'm not sure he had the physicality of Jim. I mean, he was very talented.
Also, wasn't he in Doctor and Carry On Again, Doctor?
Oh yeah, because they were all about
Jim Dale was
as well. I think they were.
Carry On Again. I'm not sure was he in Doctor. Oh no, he was in Doctor as well. You're right.
No, because the Doctor ones.
I found out he was in Disney's Pete's Dragon.
He was.
That's right.
I never picked up it was him till I watched it recently. No.
Yeah, because he left Britain to do Broadway and stuff. He had massive success over in America. And I think he's one of the few where the Carry-Ons didn't harm him. You've never heard of them over there anyway at this point. Oh, look at this being clever here. Sam is saying to us, Jim Dale in Cleo reminds me of William Russell in Doctor Who the Romans. Nice connection there. Well done. Well done. And Dalek Eye is saying to us, the fighting choreography is wonderful. A lot of sword fights, but not a drop of blood.
Until the end.
Until the end with sausages.
Yeah.
Yeah, but that's funny, isn't it? That's fun. And at that point, you're actually rooting for Hengist. Aren't you? You're going, oh, come on, man. Come on, do something.
I love the bit when they go into Cleopatra's bath and they're still fencing. That's brilliant. I love that bit.
Ooh, it's a bit...
But it's also really funny because I think people remember them as being ruder than they are because, you know, the scene with the Vestal Virgins?
Yes.
And they're being pampered by the Vestal Virgins. And it is things like doing their nails and, you know, stuff like that. I think that's really funny because I think nowadays they wouldn't be able to resist the idea of them getting off in each other and it would just spoil it.
Yeah,
totally. It was so funny what they did.
The implication is there, though, isn't it? When Haggis says, oh, I don't know what we would have done without you. And then she says, and I don't know what we would have done without you.
Yes, exactly, yeah. And he goes, that poor actor that's been dubbed as well.
I want to say hello to Matthew A0272. Nice to see you. Welcome to Who's Views. Imagine the reaction if these films came out today. Remember the days when they were shown on ITV non-stop? I do. But like I said, Matthew, you can watch these things on ITV usually now around about Christmas. They start at something ridiculous like 5-6 o'clock in the morning and they are edited to hell. And my running gag is basically going to come true. At some point, they're going to be 10 minutes each.
Yeah.
Because every year I notice a little bit more being edited out for whatever reason.
But that's why I buy the DVDs. I'm sorry.
Yes.
I just have to have the physical media because I think we're going to be, I think the way that the world is going, everything is going to be chopped.
Yes.
And where do you stop with that? Because you have to let people make up their own minds, surely.
Well, I'm expecting Khyber never to be shown on British television again.
It was shown the other day.
It's a matter of time.
Yeah, I agree with you, Justin. I do, but it's
after events of the weekend, Jack. I think things are going to be.
I think it will swing back. I think a lot of my generation is realizing it because my manager at the cafe that I'm now working at, he's 21 and he loves Bottom, the BBC show. Yeah, the comedy, and he likes Monty Python and stuff like that. So I think our generation isn't getting enough credit. And also, if you follow the store HMV, its sales are going up because more and more young people are starting to buy DVDs and CDs again.
Yes, that's great news, isn't it?
Yes,
so hopefully they'll come and find it.
We're getting sick of streaming because it's crap and we all know it.
Yeah, but the other brilliant thing is as well is you can get all the film. We've all got it, the Carry On film box sets, the collection, the lovely collection on DVD now. You can get for $19.99 or cheaper. I saw it in HMV for $17.99 a couple of months ago, and that's a bargain for the amount of films. You're getting all the films in there, including the ones we don't want to talk about. You're getting them all there. I mean, you can go from 1957 right up to 1978. Mm-hmm. Absolutely fantastic. What I think that's absolutely wonderful that's happening. What are you saying to us, Steve? Steve Thompson, I always enjoyed Kenneth Connor's style. Well-meaning, but usually pathetic and cowardly. He did it so well. He really did. And I think that's why, because I said this on the last one for Sergeant, because he's in the very first one, don't forget. He finds that character and then he's sort of stuck with it all the way through.
Horace
but here
Strong,
in Cleo, he's brilliant.
Character,
yeah. He's really, really at the top of his game in the Carry-Ons, I think, here in Cleo. I think this is his big moment because he's getting that character we all know, the pathetic and cowardly one. But in this one, he's also hiding it, isn't he? He's going around in his big, armor and everything. Look at me, I'm important, and don't you, and all this. Only to revert to the cowardly, shy thing when he meets Cleo. And he's like, oh.
Yes.
I love that.
I'm a great queen. Yeah,
I'm a great queen. And I love, Caesar's reaction. No, what the mighty Caesar is trying to say and making a right real mess of it. It's just camp. It's just harmless camp nonsense, isn't it? The Lady Knightsbridge is saying to us here, there are Carry-On films every Saturday and Sunday afternoons on ITV3. Yep. I'd imagine they would be the trimmed ones as well.
They used to show them on bank holiday weekends as well, didn't they?
Yeah.
I watched Khyber recently and I actually was intending to watch it again to see what they'd trimmed because I couldn't remember. I couldn't figure out what they'd trimmed, but I'm sure they probably did.
I'm sure, well, I don't know. I might be doing them an injustice, but the ones I've seen, I just think, don't do that because the gags don't
work.
The gag doesn't land, what else we got here as well? Thank you for everybody that's been with us through the chat. We are going to be doing scores on Matron's clipboard very soon. Don't put your scores in yet, but I will let you know when it's coming on. Stephen Braddock is saying to Jack, he was superb in Beach Dragon, and check out Digby, the biggest
he was great in
the
Digby.
world. He was great in that. I forgot about that.
I forgot about that too.
I forgot. Do you remember when they used to show that at Christmas on ITV? That's where I saw that first.
It's got to be 35 years, maybe, since I've seen it.
God. I think
along with that darn cat and other ones like that.
Yeah.
And one of our dinosaurs is missing as well.
Yeah.
That's one of my favourites. I love that.
I watched that, I think, 7 times by the time I was about 7. I went to the cinema back and back.
It was one of those films. Like the Carry-On films, one of our dinosaurs missing was one of those films I had recorded on the old VHS, so I could watch it over and over and wear the tape out. My sister and I did that with Carry-On films and with one of our dinosaurs is missing. We'll have to look at one of our dinosaurs is missing as a special.
Well, that'll be interesting because Peter Ustinov is brilliant in it, but a bit.
That's why I bought it on DVD. I bought it on DVD.
I love his performance in it, but it's a bit like to say about Carry-On Khyber because of the race swaps and stuff, which is such a shame because it's very funny.
And if you have Disney Plus, you can find it on Disney Plus. Strangely, how hypocritical of them!
But the chase scene with the dinosaur, come on.
I know. I know. I want to say hello to Old Age 60 who's joined us as well, who's saying, "What could be more British than Carry-On Boris?" That would have been a great film, actually. You could have seen them doing a pastiche of something like him, couldn't you? Because he's great Carry-On material, let's face it. And Paul Richards is saying to us, I prefer physical media. Streaming is unreliable and edited, as Jack was putting on there. Absolutely. What else we got
The only problem is, though, it leads you to buying absolute rubbish that you fantasized was great.
Yeah.
It really does.
Well, to give you a little insight to my life, I used to be a big fan of Banana Splits in the 70s and got a box set one Christmas. I'll never get that time back again, I'm telling you that.
No, well, I bought the Ghost of Motley Hall, which I thought was amazing when I was a child. And I bought it and I haven't got past the first episode.
I was the same with that one because I loved it as a kid as well, but it's very slow.
It's very slow.
Very slow. Yeah. Strange that Sheila Steeple was never in any of the Carry-Ons, actually, isn't it?
Yeah.
It shows you really how much talent they had to choose from. But when you got into that gang, you were in the gang, and they went back through. But fantastic. What else we got here as well? Paul Rose saying to us, "I'm back. I was a bit peckish, so in keeping with the subject matter, I've just had a little crumpet." Thank you for that one. That is keeping with the subject matter, isn't it? Let's have a look. What we got here? Yeah, here's another one, which is Carry-On styling. I've got a magic stick, and the wife loves it. Thank you, Old Age 60. That's terrible, but that's the sort of thing we've got. And yeah, David Rayner's joining us. Hello, David. We mentioned this a little bit earlier. My favorite bit is when Brutus corpses during the Caesar's speech, when he goes all
Winston Churchill. Yeah.
I just love them. They're so good, aren't they? Because when they start to corpse, they go, because they know they get into trouble by Mr. Gerald Thomas, because they won't
and they can't do a retake. Yeah,
they won't do a second take. No, they won't do a second take. So you've got to go. Jack, Jack's going to have to leave us with a minute. But so, have you got a second to do scores on the matron's doors?
Yeah.
Let's do that now then. Out of 10, this is what we always do on these review shows. Out of 10, what are you going to give? Let's have a look at this. And Stephen's telling us he's having tiffin with biscuits. That's fantastic. Right, so listen, Jack, you can start us off, seeing as you have to leave with us in a minute. How many scores on Matron's Clipboard are you giving this out of 10 for Carry On Cleo?
I'm going to give it a 7.
Ooh, okay. Explain.
I'm not saying I dislike it. It's just not one of my favorites. I prefer lots of other ones.
Oh, and I can't wait to find out what they are. So you're going to give it a 7 out of 10. Oh, brilliant. Okay. Jodie, what are you going to give Carry On Cleo out of 10?
For me, it's one of the best. I loved it. I loved Amanda Barry. I loved Jim Dale. And when I was a child, I thought Infamy was hilarious. It's not one of my favourite jokes now, but at the time I was roaring. So I'm going to give it 10.
Oh, fantastic. Paul, what are you going to give this?
Well, I'm with Jodie in this. I love this film. I loved watching it as growing up. My uncle did a great impersonation of Kenneth Williams. Do that Infamy gag all the time. So I love this. 10 out of 10 for me as well.
Yeah. And I'm going to agree with Jodie and Paul. This is one of my all-time Carry On favourites. And I'm going to give it a 10 too, because I've watched this one about 6 billion trillion times. And I'm delighted we are celebrating its 60th anniversary with this little show. Jack, if you have to leave, thank you so much for joining us. We will see you again soon. You look after yourself.
Thanks for having me on.
No problem, mate. See you soon. Thank you.
Bye.
Bye, buddy. Before we get to the scores on the TARDIS, scores on the Matron's Clipboard, let's have a look at some of this now. We've been given some pictures here from George, who sadly couldn't make it this evening with us, but he sent us some of these lovely pictures. Now, we've shown some of these before. In the old days, guys, when you queued up outside the cinema, you used to get photographs of the film outside the cinema as you walked towards the main doors. It was a tradition back then. They don't do it anymore. It's a shame, probably because they don't get the queues like we used to do. But yeah, they don't get those sort of stills. But George provided us with these. Have a look at these. These are gorgeous. These are actual photographs from outside the cinemas of the UK. There's this one.
Oh, that's lovely.
Isn't that fab? Yeah, I love that one. Is it? And there's Sheila Hancock, of course, who we will know from Doctor Who, from the Happiness.
I love that slightly sepia kind of quality to it. It's lovely. Yeah.
It's got that oldie world feel to it. Here's another one for you. There's Joan there. Look at that. Yeah. I mean, these are obviously faded. They might have been out in the sun and stuff like this, because these are actual photographs. Gorgeous, aren't they?
Mm.
Oh, I didn't realize those outfits were quite as daring as they were.
Yep, they're very threaded together, aren't they?
Yeah.
I didn't quite realize that as well. Yeah, but there you go. There's this one as well. Marcus.
Warren Mitchell there.
Yeah, Warren Mitchell, bless him. Look at that. They're just gorgeous, these things, aren't they?
I love those stone polystyrene cars he had. They were brilliant. You know?
Yeah, I wish you'd use a lighter notepaper.
Yeah.
This one, there's sausages there. Yeah, I just absolutely. These must. Do you remember these sort of things? I loved all these pictures as you're queuing up to get into the picture, because you're just teasing you as this is what you're going to be watching soon.
They're almost like cartoons a bit, aren't they? Really, you know.
Yeah. And thank goodness that they did all these publicity stills, because we've got all these amazing photographs. Again, thanks to George for sending these in. Really appreciate them.
They're lovely, George. Thank you. Yeah.
That's the one you talked at the top of the show, isn't it? With the poisonous acid.
Yeah. I wouldn't say that. Yeah.
It's the final one here as well that I've kept for you with Pertwee.
Oh, that's brilliant.
Yeah.
Look at John Pertwee's eyes.
I know, just.
It's like that bit in Silurians all over again, isn't it?
Yeah. gather around and have a butcher's. Absolutely brilliant. So again, thanks, George, for sending those in. Let's see what everybody is in the chat. What's this? JT, they even do a figure of Kenneth from this. We probably already have it. Do you know what? I don't. They were the Product Enterprise figures, weren't they? And I remember them coming out, and I remember loving them, Paul, because there was that one and there was a Sid James one, I'm sure, and I never got them. I never got around to getting them, which is a shame because they were brilliant. And now they go for hundreds and hundreds of pounds.
I bet they do, yeah.
Yeah. Right, let's have a look. Legion of James is giving this 9 out of 10, only because of Broad and Dick get my 10s.
That was close.
Paul Rose is saying 10, a fantastic slice of classic British fun. John is also giving it a 9 out of 10 from John. That's still quite brilliant, isn't it? Paul Richards is giving Cleo a 10 out of 10. That's over joke there, but I've dismissed it. Sam, one of the big 3 carry-ons for me, a definite 10 out of 10. Thank you, Sam. 8.5 out of 10 says problem being. Thank you, mate. And 10 out of 10 from Stephen Braddock. Classic on every level for me. One of my top 3 carry-ons. Oh, that's brilliant, isn't it? David Rayner is saying to us here, as Wellington remarked at Waterloo, nay, nay, and thrice nay. Paul Ashworth says 5. I much prefer the hospital ones, camping and screaming. Fair enough. Fair enough. Let's have a look here. 9 out of 10. Screaming gets a 10, says Steve. We're doing Screaming in October. Gosh, they're all impatient, aren't they? They all want Screaming. October, everybody, for Halloween. We are going to be doing it then. Stay with us for that one.
I think it's the one that's most unlike a lot of carry-ons, actually, Screaming.
Well,
it's funny someone said they're about preferring the camping ones or the doctor ones. I like the fact that period dramas like Carry On Cleo or Screamings in Victorian times and stuff like that. I love all that kind of sort of period stuff. It's great, you know?
Yeah, absolutely wonderful. Let's have a look at this. David Rayner is giving it a 10. I watch it every Christmas day. Oh, how fab. And old age, yes, we're going to agree with you here. I'm sure we grew up in the golden age. Absolutely, certainly. Paul Rose is saying those vintage lobby cards can be worth a fair bit. So I believe. Oh, yeah. Oh, yes. If you've got some of them, well done. Paul Richards is saying to us, the cavemen scenes could have been right out of An Unearthly Child. And Mrs. Lisa Pertwee's gal gets a 10 out of 10 for me for pure fun and laughs.
Yeah.
And Stephen is saying to us here, I missed the carry-on cinema cards, but I managed to nab the black and white cards from Raiders and Star Wars because the cinema were going to throw them out. A lot of them did. That's the problem with these cards and all the posters. They used to bin them. You know, now some of the cinemas charge you a couple of quid for the posters and stuff. Not that there's many iconic posters around these days, but if you've got stuff from the old days or if you find them, oh, fantastic. I think these lobby cards were traditionally colorized, says Steve Thompson, probably actually looking at them. Yeah. Dalek Eye is saying 8 out of 10, great movie, but there are better carry-ons. Okay. I'm interested to see which ones you like, Dalek Eye, as we carry on. And the Lady Knightsbridge herself is saying 10 out of 10. It's worth it for the infamy gag alone. I loved it.
Yeah.
Camping is an 11 out of 10, says problem being. Okay. Right. Well, yeah. Well, we're going to do them all. We will do them all at some point, so you can let us all know about that. Any more scores on Matron Stores, or am I going to call it there? I think I might call it on that one. Oh, well, listen, I'm still, as I say, I cannot get over the fact that Carry On Cleo is 60 years old. And what a joy to actually have been able to just talk about it and enjoy it in these times where I think we do need a laugh. I really do think we need a laugh. And thank goodness, I think, that the carry-ons are there right now for us to actually look at and laugh about, because they're just magical. To this day, I think they're absolutely stunning. So thank you so much for everybody for joining us. To Jack, to Paul, and to Jodie. Hope you enjoyed the show. 60 years.
It was lovely. Thank you. Thank you very much.
It was. Thank you.
Happy anniversary to Carry On Cleo. And Amanda Barry is still with us.
Yeah.
So congratulations, Amanda Barry, for nailing the part of Cleopatra in a unique way. One that is beautiful and majestic, sensual, funny. Things that we're not allowed to be these days.
Like I said, I think
really
she stole the film. She's really stole the film.
Yeah.
She stole the film.
Yeah.
She stole the film.
She was just amazing in it.
Yeah. Oh, she definitely was, wasn't she? She really was. Dalek Eye is saying here, look, still as funny today. It's an absolute joy. Thank you, Stephen. And yeah, Paul Lisa as well saying happy 60th. And David Rayner is saying to us, I need a meal, a square one. Thank you, Legion of James, as well, for another great show. Listen, Kate, stay tuned with us. Make sure you're subscribed to the channel. Make sure you are still subscribed to the channel as well, please, as well. Give us a like for this and keep in touch with us, because we're going to be letting you know over the next few weeks about which Carry On film we're going to be looking at again. Oh, I'm excited. Hope you are too. Until we see you again on Whose Views with our next show, from Paul, from Jodie and myself, stay with us, stay tuned. We'll be back soon with more from Whose Views. Night, everybody.
Bye,
Bye.
everyone. Good night. Bye-bye.